Miranda, we
Yes,
talked during
hello.
that last segment a little bit about Who is Mike, a visual novel.
Who is Mike?
Wait, was
I
that
don't
one
know.
Who
real?
is Mike? That was real. That was a real game. And I bring that up because Miranda's been playing a lot of visual novels.
Yeah, that's
I have been...
what I do sometimes.
I came up and asked you, like, when was the last time you played one? And you were like, like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's a genre that I think is blowing up on Steam. Dan and I were talking a
Finally.
little bit about it this week.
We keep talking about things.
We keep talking about things, and that's why we come here, so we
Sometimes
can talk about
stuff.
them with the world.
Do you use the verb play, or do you read a visual novel? Do you play a visual novel?
Sometimes one or the other. Like, it depends on the visual novel, because most of them, if it's a good one, I think, is choice-based. So you will play a visual novel multiple times. And a lot of people get confused because it's like, oh, it's a visual novel. So it's like
It's a linear
picture
story, like a book.
With a story. It's like, yes, but it's hard because a lot of people don't understand. It's more like Telltale's games than they think. Like, it's like Telltale's just move more. And you maybe get to walk around and do some
You shoot
dumb
some
thing.
stuff sometimes.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's just
I
like
mean-
quick time-based event that's, adds just as much as like choice-based things that you do in a visual novel.
A choose your own adventure book is a very basic game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one component of what you see in a story-based RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So I was playing We Know the Devil, which is a game that did not come out on Steam. It came out on a website called Date Nighto. It's really cute. Date Night and then an O at the end. And it's about these 3 kids who go to like a religious summer camp and have to go meet the devil. So
I'm so down with that pitch.
it's super cool.
and
so,
I don't even care like what kind of game it is. If that was the pitch, I'd be like, yeah, I'll play that.
And, like,
I don't even know what it is.
the most appealing things about visual novels, I think, is that you get a repeated experience, and they felicitate that in every way possible.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so like unlike things with Telltale's games where you have, if you want to replay it, you have to do everything over. There's always, or almost always, a fast forward button. Like if you want to skip through text, you do it as fast as you want because then you can, your second or third time around.
Right, you can go like
you can just,
hit
like,
a new
I've read this 3
dialogue
times.
branch and
Right.
see new text.
Yeah,
So
and
do you
so
like-
that's the coolest thing.
Do you like doing that? Because I know a lot of people
Yes.
will get to, they'll be like, this was my story. And there's other
So that's
choices,
me.
but like,
That's me.
too bad.
Right.
That's not
but
me.
that's almost not the objective with a lot of visual novels. Like, yeah, that's your story, but there's so many things hinting at other things in different paths that it makes you want to go back and play like the other direction or find out the other ending because most of them like flaunt, hey, this has 4 different endings.
So is that
And there's,
typically
like, a
the sign of like
different
a really good visual novel? Is that you
Yes.
want to go back and replay?
Yeah, so like one thing I reviewed, one of my first reviews for IGN was How to Full Boyfriend.
Hotiful Boyfriend is so good.
So-
that was my first ever visual novel.
Pigeon dating
Yes,
sim.
Pigeon Dating Sim, which is also a visual novel because
Yeah.
that's what it is. Just like a different genre.
Is it
of them.
dating sim a visual novel?
Sometimes.
Is a square a
usually.
rectangle?
Depends.
Depends. All right.
Square is not rectangle.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
No,
it
a
is.
rectangle's not a square. A square is a
Yeah.
rectangle.
Whatever.
We need
Math.
a game versus not game board up on
Yeah.
the wall for Dan, and also a
Yes.
rectangle versus.
That's my
rectangle.
thing.
That's yours.
Because I'm really passionate about squares as
But yeah,
rectangles.
so I think a lot of people, at least who don't really know the genre of visual novels, kind of think, oh, dating sims. Like, that's what most of it is. It's like, that's not
Right.
at all the case. But those are my favorite because I like dating boys or whatever. But and birds sometimes.
Boys and birds.
But one of the compelling things for How to Full Boyfriend is that there were a lot of hints at other paths, and you could not solve like this one part of a path without having played the other path. Like you're like, oh, okay, well, there's this thing that they keep mentioning, but they even at the end they don't resolve that thing. So you obviously have to go down this other bird's path to figure out what's wrong with this dude's brother. Like,
Right.
there's something going on unless you pursue it.
Yeah,
you
and
don't see
that's
it.
like that's just a good storytelling thread,
Yeah.
right? Like if you do something that upsets somebody and they don't want to talk to you anymore,
Yeah.
but you could have learned more about them. Like if you're cutting off an entire arm of the story to proceed somewhere else, that's really interesting to me. And that's
Yeah.
like the best thing about the Witcher games is your choices will absolutely affect where you go, who you talk to, who will talk to you, the quests you get.
Yep.
And that's obviously on like a more ambitious scale and very different. But it's the
It's a
same
different game.
idea that you are
Sure.
sacrificing one thing to enable another.
Right. And so while a lot of visual novels are choice-based too, they're not all just reading. Like some of them are, and you're just going to sit there and read a bunch of things and choose some, like, oh, well, I want A or B, C, D, whatever. But some of them like are integrated with like strategy or strategic elements or puzzles or something. I think The Zero Escape games, like those are visual novels with like
with puzzles
super
peppered
big
throughout.
puzzles. Yeah.
Same with like Danganronpa.
Or 80 Days is arguably
Oh man, yeah, and that just came out on Steam.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's my favorite visual novel ever because that game is so good. Play 80 Days on Steam. Good lord, yeah, absolutely.
Did that come out on Steam?
Yeah,
did, yes.
like last week.
Nice. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Go play that.
Dancing All Night. Like
Dancing All
Persona
Night.
4, Dancing All Night is arguably a visual novel more than it is a dancing game.
Yes.
Like
And
because
I think that was the one that made me realize like I love Persona 4.
Yeah.
I love getting more out of that story, but I sort of missed the Persona 4 elements of it, which was like choosing to go out with somebody else
Sure.
and developing the social
Sure.
links and like learning more about them. Like that's not there
Yeah.
because this is a very linear social novel or
visual novel.
graphic-
So it's
visual
like it's like a visual novel
Jesus.
without choices, but your
Whatever,
fun
dude.
part,
It's
the fun part
Wednesday.
of the story is you dancing, like
Yeah.
you're feeding people. Like, that's the fun thing, I guess they integrated.
But in most visual novels, like the fun thing is the story and
Is
the
the
people
story and the paths and the quick, like the best thing is quick save. There's always quick save. Like I always get so annoyed playing Telltale games because I can't like
Jump back.
fix something. You can't jump back, and like I know that's part of like their storytelling. You can't. Like, that's the way
Right.
they want you to experience it. But at the same time, it's like, well, I can just go replay it, but it takes me forever to get through it. So then you just don't want to play it again.
Yeah, you just want to get back to that one decision you wanted to try a different
Yeah.
time. Like for me, the thing that makes the sign of a good visual novel, or not that I play a bunch of visual novels,
Yeah,
but
shit.
the
You're
sign
a big
of
fan, I know.
the sign of a good decision in a game or in a multiple choice thing is that it makes you want to know what happened if you did the
Right.
other thing. If it's just posing a question like, do you do A or B? And it's like, oh, obviously A. You don't really care what happens if you do B.
Yeah.
But like the BioWare RPGs, where particularly like KOTOR, like where they pose good or evil questions. It's like, oh yeah, I want to do the good one, but I really want to go back and see what happens if I did the evil
Yeah.
thing because I
Right.
want to see what would happen in that situation.
See-
It's a like that a well written story with options will set up those choices to make it difficult to choose and make you want to go back and see the.
And
other.
I sort of wish to that point that BioWare would take a hint from I don't know, visual novels or other kinds of stories where you make choices where the good is not highlighted in blue and the red's not highlighted in bad. That way
Yeah.
you're making like a philosophical choice
Well,
and
they
not one
used
that
to.
is tied to a system that you know is going to benefit you.
They used to, and like that.
Yeah.
That the addition of that it was kind of a way to remove kind of unintentional surprises, because there used to be choices where you would make. And even with that, in Mass Effect, there were a couple of times where I would make a choice where I was like, well, obviously that's the choice for this alignment, but then it was like, oh, it had the opposite effect. I think in Mass Effect 1, I don't think they had the color coding yet.
I think they did.
I don't think they did, because I think there was a thing with the
can't
Geth, where I made a call with the Geth. It's like, obviously that's the Paragon choice.
So, okay.
No, it did because it was on the left side of the radio wheel, right?
Yeah.
The things that you needed
You need your coercion to be high.
Yes, but for the regular stuff on the right, I believe it was all just white
Right.
text.
And you would have to like unlock
But,
blue
yeah.
and red options on the left side of the radio wheel.
Right.
So you had to like go out of your way to unlock those, which typically meant you had to up your Paragon stats by doing a lot of the stuff that I said I would like more of, which is like making a choice.
If you're
see what
super good,
happens.
you can have a guy kill himself. Mass Effect 1.
That's my favorite choice in the whole game. Holy crap, that's so good.
So, with such a focus on just reading and making choices, like some games that have bad writing, like I'll still play them because they're just fun to play.
Yep.
In these, are you finding that the writing is the king in these? Like, are you
Oh,
finding
yeah.
a lot of more bad ones than good?
Oh, I mean, if you look on Steam, you'll know. There are tons of trash ones out there. So some of them, dating ones particularly, can be really terrible. Oh gosh.
I just found one while you remember. I just found one that is called SC2VN, which is a StarCraft 2 visual novel, the esports
Yeah.
visual novel.
I have it on there. It's free to play.
It's
Surprise. Esports.
it's just a free visual novel about a kid who's playing StarCraft 2 competitively.
I'm actually pretty interested in that. I heard some interesting.
It's got
things about it.
240 reviews and it is very positive.
Yeah.
Really?
So,
What?
I mean, so the cool thing about visual novels is that they can just tackle so many different, genres and subjects because, all you really need is their backgrounds, the writing, and then like character art, and some like maybe music.
Yeah.
So it's really simple to compile like a really cool story. I mean, not simple, but it can tackle different things maybe a little bit easier than like a full-fledged game.
Most visual novels on Steam are positively rated. And I wonder how much of that is people who are like, I like visual novels. This was one of them.
So
thumbs up.
The cool thing with Steam is that since they added the tags, and I don't know if what else they changed, but I found so many more visual novels. Like, it took me so long before to find anything, and now I'm like, well, here's 20 more visual novels I need to play. So there has been like some that I've played that were bad. Like, there's this one of the few first things I played on Steam was Always Remember Me. And it's this dating sim about a girl who she's dating this guy and he gets amnesia or something, and you can choose to date him or some other guy. Like, you can just choose to forget him and like whatever. But it poses like one of the things that also becomes an issue with visual novels is like forced systems. So sometimes they'll be like, oh, hey, if you want to date this person or something, you have to do these certain tasks to get more stats in whatever skill, like more charisma or more intelligence or something. And sometimes it just feels so like needless. That's just like, well, we needed to add a gamey element, so
have some RPG grinding nobody likes.
Right. It's like, okay, thanks. Also, it was poorly written, so
Did you ever play Analog?
I Hate Story.
Yeah,
I haven't yet, but I have it.
that was the one that I remember coming out like a year or 2, 3 ago, where everybody was talking about it, and I was like, literally, what is a visual novel?
Yeah.
But everyone loved it, and I never got to it. Now I'm kind of wondering, like, as I search Steam, and these things are coming up more and more, and I'm like, I'm down with a 1-hour story that takes me no time and minimal effort.
A lot
I kind of want to play
take a few hours, like depending on them.
Right.
And they're also relatively cheap too, which is surprising. I don't usually see them get over $30. So, and like I see a lot for like $10. Like, We Know the Devil is $6.66. Surprise. But that took me like maybe 2 hours to get through for the first read, and then everything after, like I just did like 30 minutes because you just fast forward.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem appropriate that they be priced more in line with a book or a movie than with a $60 game.
Yeah, some of the bigger ones are obviously more expensive just because they are more complex and stuff. But yeah, if you haven't checked them out, you should. They're cool.
Dan, are you ever going to play a visual novel in your lifetime?
It depends.
Like, is that something you would go out of your way to play?
Depends on who you define. I'm not very interested in dating sims.
Okay.
The subject matter does not really interest me.
God, I really want to do a 2-hour Let's Play with you of a dating sim.
I mean, arguably I have
some.
arguably I have played visual novels. I mean, you could call some of the Telltale games visual novels.
Sure, totally.
So sure I would.
Right.
Why not?
Brian, thoughts on visual novels? Are you like?
I want to play.
Do you see yourself in the future like buying a visual novel?
Yeah, especially like she'll play We Know the Devil. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And she'll be like, this thing is happening. It's spooky and like it's really cool. But she can't spoil it. But she's like ranting about why it's so good.
And you're like, well, I guess I gotta play it.
I'll tell you this though, it's not. They're not necessarily games I would prefer to play on PC.
Yes. So that is my big thing too. A lot of them are getting on Vita, or at least some of the Japanese ones are finally getting ported over here. And that's like my preferred place, just because sometimes you just want to snuggle up and sit and read your game and make choices.
It has minimal interactivity, and the way I prefer to interact with games is with mouse and keyboard on PC.
Did you guys play To the Moon?
No.
Yeah.
Because To the Moon's a really good visual novel with it has gameplay systems that are minimal, but like
they probably could have been removed
probably
to make the game better.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, you were saying.
But I think playing something like that on my phone would be the way I'd go about it. Because if I'm on a commute or something,
right?
I'll read a book on my commute sometimes.
So on your iPad.
Yeah.
The cool thing about that is the game We Know the Devil is on this one website, Date90, which I said before, and their entire engine runs in browser.
Nice.
And so their goal was just that, like, you can play this on your tablet or you can play it on your phone.
Are there saves?
Yeah. That's like super smart. Like this guy just said, "Hey, I'm going to develop this system so people can play wherever they want," because it's super important for visual novels.
Big fan of that.
Yeah, and so I was just like, "This is the best. I'm staying here forever. I'm buying everything."
Cool.
I want visual novels based on things I already care about.
Dota 2, the visual novel. Destiny, the visual novel.
Maybe
Star Wars.
Maybe League of Legends Clash of Fates, the visual novel.
Is that it?
That
you find
is
it?
I found
nice.
it. Clash of Fates.
Did it just come slamming back into your brain, or did you look it up?
No, I found it.
Okay. You're very sly. I didn't even notice. Yeah. Clash of Fates. That's really terrible. That's another.
Yeah,
it's like
really
bad video game name plus bad video game name, and they picked one of them.
Blank of blank, blank of blank.
Clash of Fates, man. If they had taken Clash of Fates, what would have happened to Clash of Clans? What would that be?
There would have been a legal clash.
League of Clash.
Clash of lawyers.
Clash of the leagues. Clash of lawyers. Cool.
I feel like there's a game to make out of this. like
No.
a dumb like card game sort of thing to make, like a mixture of verbs and
yeah.
nouns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
like
like
apples to
something
apples.
like that
Yeah.
exists.
Yes.
There have definitely been like game name generators.
Yeah.
Tweet at us. I'm at Mitchie, Brian is at Albino Albert, Miranda is at Havoc Rose, Dan is at Dan Stapleton. Tweet us your best blank of blank name, and we'll read some on the show next week. Some of the worst
Is it
ones.
most generic or just
You're
whatever
the
they
most
want?
despicable, boring thing you can think of. Blank of blank.
Something with the TION at the end.
Ooh,
The shin,
ooh, I like that.
revelation.
Doom of Revelation.
There we go.
Easy. You have to do worse than that. That's the goal.